Welcome to Biff's Mystery Theater. I have many tales to tell you. Ghost stories, murder stories, and tales that will make your bones chill. Join me, won't you? For Theater of the Mind, where you always have the best seat in the house. Now close your eyes and turn off the lights.
Suspense. Now let's see. Suspect, suspectant, suspend. Here we are. Suspense. The condition of mental uncertainty, usually accompanied by apprehension or anxiety. Fear of something which is about to occur, as do not keep me any longer in suspense.
For our story of suspense tonight, we invite you to enjoy The Devil in the Summer House by John Dixon Carr.
Somewhere along the Hudson, perhaps not far from Tarrytown, there is a modest house in its own grounds. Behind it, in a spacious garden, stands a summer house of evil memory. More than 25 years ago, a man shot himself, or at least died, in that summer house. They found Major Kenyon with a scorched bullet hole in his head and the weapon beside him. But we are in the present now. The latticed summer house has grown heavy with vines, and only the other evening 2 men came into that garden at twilight, over the shaggy grass, as a storm was brewing along the Hudson. 2 men, the lawyer from New York.
Who's there?
And Captain Burke of the homicide squad.
Easy, my friend, easy. I was just going to ask you the same thing.
My name is Parker. I'm an attorney. You're not Captain Burke.
Yeah, the very same and no other. I thought I recognized you, Mr. Parker. Must be something important to bring you so far from New York at this time of night.
I was in Tarrytown anyway. I thought there'd be a housekeeper here, but I don't see any lights.
You've got business here?
Yes, in a way. Have you?
I don't know. I'll tell you better after you tell me what brought you to a place that no one has lived in for 10 years.
Tell me, Captain. Did you ever get an anonymous letter from a dead man? Did you?
No, I can't say I did. The letter's anonymous. How do you know the man's dead?
Because they're all dead. Every last one of them. Dead and under the ground, where they can't be hurt any longer. Look. There's the summer house where Jerry Kenyon used to work. There are the windows of the library and the dining room. Looking toward it. Confound this lightning.
Makes the windows blaze, don't it?
Jerry Kenyon hadn't a care in the world. Yet he shot himself. I'll show you the letter.
Now, look, Mr. Parker, I couldn't read anything in this light. But if we can get inside the house...
Certainly we can get into the house. I was the family attorney. I've got the keys. Why should a dead person send me a letter?
working, eh? But you got a flashlight, I see. Came here prepared for anything, eh?
This is the library. There were always candles on the mantel. Yes, there they are. Have you a match, Captain?
Yes, I'll light them.
That's better. Same old heavy furniture. Same old thick carpet. Same old globe map.
Now, Mr. Parker, this letter that you were talking about.
Yeah. Read it.
Hey, wait a minute. This thing is dated November 2nd, 1918.
That's right, and be careful of that paper. You see how old it is? But it was mailed yesterday.
From where?
I don't remember. I didn't keep the envelope. Read it.
Dear Joe.
In case you didn't know it, I'm Joe.
Dear Joe, if you want to know how Major Kenyon really died...
But we know how he died. It was suicide.
Are you sure it was? Whoever wrote this letter doesn't seem to think so. If you want to know how Major Kenyon really died, look in the third drawer of the desk in the library. Press hard at the back of the drawer. Yours very truly. It's not signed.
That's right.
Are you sure you don't know who wrote that letter?
This is the first time I've been back in this room, Captain. It was almost a home to me once. There's the chair where Isabel sat on the afternoon it happened. Isabel was Jerry Kenyon's wife. Beautiful woman. There's the door that the maid let me in by that afternoon. You know, Captain, seems to me they're all here tonight.
Who?
We stand beneath the sounding rafter, and the walls around us are bare as they echo our peals of laughter. It seems that the dead are there.
Yet we stand to our glasses steady.
You know it?
I was in my school reader. How does the rest of it go?
Yet we stand to our glasses steady and drink to our comrades' eyes. Here's a glass to the dead already. Hurrah for the next that dies. Excuse me, Captain. I don't know what's come over me talking that way. I was very fond of these people.
Are you going to look in the desk drawer?
This is a lot of nonsense.
Then why are you here, Mr. Parker?
Jerry Kenyon was always a happy man. At least that's what I always thought. Big, boisterous fellow.
Yeah?
He had a good position with Vitatone. You know, the phonograph company.
Yeah, sure, I know.
But he'd just been made a major in the Army. 1917. There was a war on then, too, if you remember.
I remember. To make the world safe for democracy.
Old days. Old heartaches. Old memories. I remember that blazing hot day in August when all the windows were up. I remember this room. And Isabel, that was Jerry's wife, sitting in that chair, knitting. I remember...
Oh, yes, Kitty. What is it?
There's a man to see you, Miss Kenyon. He says his name's Parker.
Yes, I'm expecting him. Show him in, please.
All right, ma'am. Shall I take your knitting in your knitting bag?
Why should you take my knitting?
I don't know, Miss Kenyon. I just wondered. You can come in now.
Thank you.
Hello, Joe.
Hello, Isabel. You sent for me?
Joe, I must apologize for Kitty. Servants are getting to be a problem nowadays.
She looks pretty enough to get along.
Oh, Kitty's got large ideas. She wants to go on the stage, if you please, and do imitations, like Miss Draper. She only knew how hard it was acting all your life.
Isabel, you've been crying.
I have not. At least,
Is that why you sent for me?
I've missed you. You haven't been here in over a week, Joe.
I had an idea Jerry was getting a little tired of having me around this house.
Oh, no, Joe. Why, Jerry...
Yes, what about Jerry?
I wish I knew, Joe. That's why I wanted you here.
Where is he, by the way? I want to say goodbye to him before he leaves.
He's probably out in the summer house where he works with all those papers. He's got a lot of work to catch up with. He's going overseas tomorrow.
Yes, I know.
He's out there. He's been out there all day. His last day here, and I've been alone.
That sounded like a shot.
Yes, it was a shot, Joe.
In the house.
Dear.
Doesn't seem to worry you.
It's only Paul, Jerry's brother, Paul.
Oh, thought you'd gotten him off your hands for good.
Jerry asked him out. He got here 2 nights ago.
That doesn't make it any easier for you, does it?
No, I don't mind. Jerry's fixed him up with a pistol range in the cellar. Paul's a terribly bad shot. Not like the rest of us. You don't seem to like it, Joe. Shall I have Kitty go down and tell him to stop?
No, it's bearable. As long as he keeps away.
Poor Joe.
But, about Jerry, who is it this time?
Joe, Jerry's been home 5 days on leave from camp. Well, never mind what camp. But he spent 4 evenings of those 5 with that Fisk woman.
Diane Fisk? The redhead with all the money?
Oh, she got money?
Wow.
She must have some attraction then. Please understand me, Joe. It's not that I'm jealous any longer. It's just
No,
that
of course not.
Jerry goes his way and I go mine. I may not be without admirers myself, if it comes to that.
You've no idea how true that is, Isabel.
No, I was thinking about Jerry. He may not always be lucky. He may meet some girl who's not as broad-minded as I am. And then when he gives her the go-by... Paul must be getting really furious down in that cell. He's not hitting anything.
He must be using a lot of ammunition.
Now, your trouble, Joe, is that you're too much of a gentleman. And if you really want to see Jerry, there he is now.
Where?
Just standing in the door of the summer house. Look out the window.
Infernally bright out there.
Doesn't he look noble in his new uniform? Sam Brown belt and revolver and everything. Look how he turns around and waves his cap at us. Like a real soldier.
Real soldiers don't exactly wave their caps, do they?
He does. Jerry! Jerry!
Hello there!
Jerry, Joe Parker's here.
Who?
Joe Parker. He wants to see you.
Well, give him a drink or something. I'll be up in a minute.
Into the summer house again. Not a care in the world,
Now,
Henry.
listen, Isabel, you've got to slow down. You'll be crying again in a minute. Come on over here and sit down.
Light hurts my eyes, that's all.
Well, then we'll just pull these blinds. We'll still be able to see it. There, how's that?
It's better, thanks.
Now, can I get you anything?
Oh, no, you heard the Great White Chief's orders. I'm to get you something. What'll you have, Joe? A highball?
Don't bother with that.
Oh, it's no bother. Everything's out in the dining room here. The iceman didn't deliver today of all days, so I'm afraid I can't give you any ice. I read in the paper yesterday that we're likely to have automatic ice boxes any day now. Things that freeze ice by electricity or something. Do you believe that, Joe?
I doubt it. Listen, Isabel.
Here you are. It's not cold at all. It's the best I could do.
Thanks very much. What I wanted to say was, couldn't you get that brother of yours to give up practicing now? Hasn't he done his good deed for the day?
Yes, maybe he has. I'll ring for Kitty.
You don't have to call me, Miss Kenyon. I'm here.
Oh, yes, Kitty. What is it?
It's only to tell you there's another visitor. This time it's a woman.
Lady, Kitty. Call her a lady, please.
Well, maybe. She says her name's Diane Fisk.
Diane Fisk, that's Jerry.
Kitty, tell the lady I'm not in.
Lady. She's a fine lady. I don't want to intrude, my dear. I don't want to intrude. Anyway, it's too late, Miss Kenyon. She's coming down the hall now.
My dear Mrs. Kenyon.
How do you do, Diane? This is a friend of ours, Miss Fisk, Mr. Parker.
How do you do?
Now, I don't want to intrude, really, I don't. I wouldn't have intruded for worlds, especially on a day like this. Isn't it awful? But your husband simply insisted, my dear Mrs. Kenyon. He simply wouldn't take no for an answer.
I'm sure he wouldn't.
Do you know what he's brought from his office as a surprise?
No.
A phonograph recording machine. He's going to let us use it.
So that we can all hear ourselves talk twice. How nice. Heaven's name, can't somebody stop that firing?
Don't fly off the handle. Take it easy now.
Kitty.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you please go down the cellar and tell Mr. Kenyon's brother he's driving us all crazy. Tell him to stop.
Yes, ma'am.
My dear Mrs. Kenyon, I do hope I haven't offended you in any way. I know I'm a silly little chatterbox. They say people who have red hair often are. Because at your age, you must find the heat very trying.
Don't you think we'd all better sit down?
I
was very much interested in what Miss Fisk said about our phonograph recording machine. Mrs. Kenyon was just talking about a machine to make ice.
Yes. Isn't science wonderful? But I do think it was mean of Major Kenyon to invite me out here and then go and fall asleep in the summer house.
Did you say fall asleep?
Yes, of course.
How did you know?
Well, I came up the back way and I saw him in the summer house with his head forward on the table, taking a nice little snooze.
That's very queer.
Of course, you couldn't see much except in the bright light of the door, but I think I saw him there. I didn't disturb him, naturally.
But I think I'd better disturb him.
Oh, now, please don't trouble on my account.
The fact is, my dear, I don't altogether trust myself in this room. A woman of my age has to conserve her strength, you know. So if you'll just excuse me.
Well, of course, if you... Oh, dear, I just can't think what I'm always saying because I have the best intentions in the world, Mr. Barker, but...
Parker.
Oh, yes, Parker, but I do somehow manage to offend people being so dependent and everything. Except the men, of course. I couldn't offend you, Mr. Parker. Now, could I?
Madam, I'm not sure.
Well, of course, the person I really came to see was Paul, Mr. Kenyon's brother. He's a little young, of course, but he's joining up next month, and I think we should all do our bit, don't you? He has such a pleasant personality. I think he likes me. Why, if he walked in at that door this minute...
Now, how am I ever going to get any place? Someone's always interrupting my revolver practice just when I'm getting to the point where I can... Oh.
Why, Paul...
Good Lord, are you here again?
You're a very untidy object, Paul.
Well, it's pretty untidy in this cellar. And dirty. I've got cockroaches on me, so keep away.
Did you have a good day shooting?
Swell. One of the best.
Hit the target?
On the only shot that mattered, I hit the target dead center. That sounded like Isabel.
I think it was Isabel.
Why have you got those blinds down? Get them up. What is it? What's wrong with you? What are you looking at through that window?
That was 25 years ago, Captain Burke. We found Jerry Kenyon lying across the table in the summer house. He'd shot himself through the head with his own revolver from the holster. It was lying on the floor beside him.
Shut up, right? I see.
When Isabel found him, he'd been dead about half an hour.
The doctors proved that, did they?
Yes, that shot had been fired against his head. The front of his uniform cap was powder burned where the bullet entered.
There's no doubt about that.
None at all. We never noticed the real shot
Because that young lad was shooting off guns like a maniac in the cellar.
Precisely. Now they're all dead. By accident, illness, they're all gone. Isabel Kenyon died less than a year afterwards. I think she died just because she was so fond of Jerry. I suppose you've guessed my little secret.
Oh, I think I can sort of read between the lines. You were in love with Isabel Kenyon, weren't you?
Yes.
Well, these things happen.
I never let her see it, you understand?
Women know, pretty generally.
So, they're gone. The youngest of them. And I'm left alone with old tunes, old ghosts, wondering why the fellow ever killed himself. Why? Why? And this morning, out of a clear sky, I get a letter saying, if you want to know how Major Kenyon really died, look in the third drawer of the desk in the library. But I tell you, we know how he died.
Well, aren't you going to do it?
Naturally. I've got a key somewhere here that fits the drawer.
Now, listen, Mr. Parker. In my father's country, in Ireland, they got a saying that when a man's going to commit suicide...
I thought of doing that, too.
Then the devil comes in and takes him by the hand and talks to him. They say you can see the devil as plain as I see you, just before you pull the trigger.
The devil must have been in the summer house that afternoon, then.
Oh, no, he wasn't.
What do you mean?
Major Kenyon didn't kill himself. He was murdered.
My dear Captain Burke, the police covered all that at the time. Everybody had an alibi.
They did they?
Well, think of what I've told you. Isabel and I were together all the time. Paul, her brother, was shooting off guns in the cellar.
Yeah?
Diane Fisk.
Yeah, what about her?
Her chauffeur who drove her there swore he saw her walk straight up to the place. She passed the summer house, but didn't stop there.
Well, that checks.
Even Kitty, the maid, could prove she'd never stirred out of the house until just a minute or so before Isabel went herself.
Oh, and why did the maid have to leave the house at all?
She was taking Jerry the black coffee he drank every afternoon. He'd already been dead half an hour then. And that, my dear Captain, disposes of everybody.
Well, now listen, Mr. Parker. You're a good guy, and I'm not going to hold out on you any longer. You see, I say Major Kenyon was murdered because I know he was murdered.
By an outsider?
By one of the people in the house.
That's impossible.
Is it? Well, why don't you open that desk drawer and see? What time is it?
It's 7:45.
7:45, and I haven't got much time.
For what?
Holy St. Patrick, will you open that drawer?
If it's waited 25 years, my friend, it can wait a minute more. I've got the key somewhere in this bunch of keys. Everything the same. Paul never altered what he inherited. Same old desk, same old phonograph. Same old... I think this is the key. Yeah, it opens. There's nothing here except one or two old newspapers. Everything very dirty.
The letter says to press hard at the back. Have you tried that?
Doesn't seem to. Yes, by George, it does work.
Well?
There seems to be a movable back on a hinge.
Well, what's inside?
Some sort of flat brown paper parcel sealed with wax. And about as dirty as it can get.
Open it, man, open it.
I'm going to. It's a phonograph record. There's a plain white label, something on it written in pencil. I don't see too well nowadays without my glasses.
Here, give it to me. I'll read it to you.
Go on.
A record of how I killed Jerry Kenyon. Say, don't you get it, Mr. Parker? This is the real goods. The murderer's going to tell us his own story 25 years later.
Be careful. Whatever you do, don't drop it.
Well, you seem to be interested enough now.
I don't say I'm not interested. I say I can't believe it.
You know, when you were talking about the dead coming back and that kind of thing, you sure started giving me goose pimples. But that's just what it is, a dead person. Now, there's the phonograph. Put that record on. Let's hear what the ghost says.
Any of them could have made the record, of course. The apparatus was all here.
Don't just stand there by the phonograph. Won't it work?
Yes, it works.
Is it wound up?
Yes, it's wound up. Here goes.
Now, look, Mr. Parker. Whose voice do you think it's going to be?
I don't know.
Now, I want to warn you. The voice you're going to hear from there...
Please, be quiet. Listen. I've started it up. Well, speak up. Who killed Jerry Kenyon?
I killed him, Joe, dear.
Isabel.
I'm sorry about it, Joe. But I had to have you for an alibi. And you were so terribly easy to
It's
fool.
only a phonograph record, man. Don't look at it as if it was alive.
You said you and I were always together, Joe. But that wasn't quite true. I left you to go into the dining room and mix a highball, remember?
Yes.
And I was carrying my big knitting bag. Remember that, too? And there was something else in it besides knitting. I'm an awfully good revolver shot, Joe. I told you we were all good except Paul. And the back windows of the dining room faced the same way as the back windows of the library.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you.
Jerry was in the summer house. I made a sign to him from the window, and he came to the door there. In bright sunlight, 50 feet away.
True again, Isabel. True
Joe,
again.
don't you know what August heat is in a wooden summer house? Didn't anybody see that no man would be wearing a cap inside on a day like that? Jerry had taken his cap off before he went into the summer house. We saw him do it. He was bareheaded when he came to the door. So I lifted the revolver and shot him through the head. Then I dropped the gun back in my knitting bag and went back into the library with your drink.
Isabel.
Don't talk back to the thing,
There
man. You'll
was
drive me
something else
screwy.
in my knitting bag, too. I had to use it. It was a duplicate of Jerry's army camp with a powder-burned hole already fired through it in the place I wanted.
Very clever of you, Isabel. So I've been the goat for 25 years.
I waited for some time and then slipped out to find the body. I fitted the new cap over Jerry's head in place where it ought to go. I put the old cap in my knitting bag. I took his revolver out of the holster and kept it. The gun that I'd used, I dropped on the floor beside him. So I proved it was suicide. You see?
You proved it to me.
Joe, listen, I'm very sick. They tell me I'm going to die.
You are dead.
Joe, I'm afraid. I'm going out in the dark, and I don't know what's there.
Don't go away, Isabel. Come
Joe!
on. Just for a minute.
Okay, I've had just about enough of this.
Joe, I want you to tell everybody about it. I want you to tell them how a poor, crazy woman couldn't stand that man any longer, and how...
There. It's cut off, and it's going to stay cut off.
Thank you. I've heard about enough, too. But you can't arrest her now, my friend. You can't arrest her now.
After hearing that, I'm not going to arrest anybody.
Tell me, Captain. Did you know what was on the record?
No. That's why I had to hear it. I knew about it, but I wasn't sure what it had to say. But so help me, I never guessed how hard it would hit you. Man, don't you get it even yet?
Yes, I get it.
Oh, no, you don't. You don't see anything. That was how the fake suicide was managed, yes. That's just how it was all done, bar one or two little things. Only...
Only what?
Only it wasn't Isabel Kenyon who committed the murder.
Did I hear you correctly?
You did?
This is another one of your little jokes, I imagine. Can't you let me alone? Have you some kind of personal spite against me? What did I ever do?
You're going to hear the real truth now if I have to hold you down in that chair. I know Mrs. Kenyon didn't kill her husband because I've just come from talking to the real murderer up the river.
But they're all dead.
Oh, no, they're not. And I haven't got much time either. That clock's just going to strike 8.
What's the time got to do with it?
Good deal if you'll follow me. Mrs. Kenyon died less than a year after her husband, didn't she?
Yes.
But it wasn't Mrs. Kenyon's voice you just heard on that record.
What?
I'm telling you, the real murderer hated her. Hated her like poison and wanted her blamed for the crime. When Mrs. Kenyon died, the real murderer wrote a letter.
Well?
But she never mailed that letter. She made a lying record of Isabel Kenyon's voice as evidence. Now you figure it out for yourself. Who was pretty enough to take Major Kenyon's eye and strike back like fury when she got thrown over? Who wanted to go on the stage and do impersonations?
Kitty, the maid.
Ah, you're talking sense.
She shot Jerry from the dining room window.
When she couldn't borrow Mrs. Kenyon's knitting bag, she went out to the summer house with a gun and the fake cap wrapped in a napkin on a coffee tray.
She did go out, I remember.
Actually, she got there before Mrs. Kenyon did. But the summer house was dark inside, and Mrs. Kenyon never noticed her. The next day, Kitty wrote that letter, but she couldn't bring herself to send it. So she kept that letter till the day before yesterday. Then one of the boys at Sing Sing...
Wait a minute.
Thinking he was doing her a kind action, put a stamp on it and mailed it.
Did you say Sing Sing?
Yes. They're electrocuting her tonight for the murder of an Italian down at Collier's Hook. I found out about the record, all right. But the one thing I wasn't sure of was that she had done the job alone. Now, frankly, the way you acted, I thought that you might have been in on it, too. Well, that's why I had to hear it through. And it was anything but a joke. And now, here it goes to blazes forever. Eight o'clock. Now she's dead.
And so ends The Devil in the Summer House. Tonight's story of Suspense. The part of Mr. Parker was played by Martin Gable. Again next Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Wartime. A story dedicated to the thrill of the nighttime, the hushed voice and the prowling step. Another adventure in suspense. William Spear, the producer, John Dietz, the director, and John Dixon Carr, the author, are collaborators on Suspense.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Suspense.
For Suspense, tonight we present Menace in Wax by John Dixon Carr.
During the French Revolution of 1793, a Swiss girl copied in wax the severed heads of those who had just been guillotined. She married a Frenchman named Tussauds and came to London, and she founded Madame Tussauds Waxworks. There it is, still in Marylebone Road, near Baker Street Station. Not the original building. That was destroyed by fire. But it remained untouched when a darker shadow than revolution came to England. And they plastered high explosives all along that road and hit the cinema next door. We are going to London under the bomber's moon. Late one night in March of 1941, a young man hurried up to the great glass doors of Madame Tussauds.
Hey, open up here. Isn't there a night watchman around this place?
There is, Governor, and I'm him. Now, what do you want at this hour of the night?
My name is Rogers. I'm from the Daily Record.
Oh.
If you'll let me get inside, I'll show you my press card. Didn't you get any orders about me?
Well, maybe I have at that. Oh, you're the bloke who wants to see the Chamber of Horrors.
That's right.
All right, you may as well come in.
My paper got a tip there's something funny going on around here.
Something funny going on here? That's a good one. The rain's not very heavy tonight, is it?
No, they're going over.
You ain't heard where, Governor?
We got a teletype flash. There was the Midlands.
Lord lummy, and I've got a sister in Birmingham. Oh, why can't she come and stop in a nice, safe place like London? There's the Regent's Park guns opening up again. Makes your teeth rattle and shakes the hats off the dummies' heads. You know, this Chamber of Horrors is getting to be popular tonight.
You mean there's been somebody here before me?
Yes.
A woman?
That's right, Governor.
About 5 feet 2 inches tall, very pretty. If you like 'em brunette and big-eyed and a phony French accent.
No, Governor, no. This was only an old lady that lost her handbag.
Oh, thank the Lord for that anyway. Now then, what is going on around here?
Well, I don't know, Governor. You'll have to ask Pearson about that.
Who's Pearson?
Oh, he's the bloke that's the watchman down there. He's old and he imagines things. He phoned your piper. Have you got an electric torch?
Yes.
Then go straight on through the marble hall and down the stairs on your left. And don't speak to the policeman, 'cause he's wax. Yes, that's the way, Governor. That's the way to the Chamber of Horrors.
Thank you. Pearson? Hello, Pearson. Pearson?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
You're looking for me.
Oh, gee, I didn't see you there. I must have thought you were one of these wax dummies.
Ugly dim light, isn't it?
Yes. Rogers is my name. I'm from the Daily Record.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you came over. I phoned your paper myself. Maybe I'm just imagining things, but...
Oh, I don't blame you. This place would make anybody nervous, especially during an air raid.
Well, sir, it's all right as long as you don't get to imagine they're watching you.
Oh, and do you?
Oh, yes. Sometimes. That's the gambling group in the center there.
Uh-huh. What's that thing over there?
That's the famous guillotine.
Oh, wait a minute, old boy. You're not trying to tell me that's the original guillotine.
No, that was burnt in the fire. Madame Tussauds bought it from Sanson, the executioner. Let me tell you something, Mr. Rogers.
What?
Years ago, this is straight, a young French woman came in here. There was nobody else in the place. She thought it'd be great fun to say she'd put her neck in the same guillotine as Marie Antoinette. So she climbed up on that platform. She snapped the little wooden collar down round her neck, shutting herself in. All of a sudden, she realized she didn't know which spring controlled the collar and which spring controlled the knife.
Oh, good Lord, she didn't...
No. But they say she went crazy. They say she screamed and screamed.
What's that?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you, but sweet mama, I'm so scared myself I cannot help it.
Susie.
Oh, no, not Susie. Susie? You make it so it rhyme with floozy. That is not nice.
Why, you little devil. I ought to turn you across my knee. What are you doing here? And will you forget that French accent? You're driving me crazy.
You know this young lady, sir?
Do I? She works for my paper. She's haunting me.
Oh, Bert, that's not nice. I like the way I talk. I only try to give you ideas.
That's just what I mean. Now take your arms from around my neck.
She's French, sir.
Her mother came from New York, like I did. She's got some funny ideas, accents, and disguises.
So I dress up as an old lady, and I come along, too. That is clever, no?
Definitely no.
But I go into what I think is the ladies' room, and there is Jack the Ripper. I'm so scared I almost kick the ghost.
Whatever else you do, miss, for the love of heaven, put out that cigarette.
It is not permitted?
It is what they are most afraid of in this place. Fire. If you vouch for this young lady, Mr. Rogers...
I don't vouch for anybody. But go on now. What's all the mystery here at Madame Tussauds?
You see the group over there? It's called the Gamblers.
That 3 men and a woman in 18th century costume sitting around a table playing cards?
Yes. And about once a week, when the lights are out...
Yes?
Those dummies do play cards.
Is this a publicity trick of some kind?
Oh, no, sir.
Then what's the game?
I'm not crazy. I know they don't actually do it, sir. What I want to know is who changes the cards round in their hands and why.
Well, could anybody? Anybody from the outside, I mean, get in to change the cards?
Oh, yes. There's a back door. But why would anyone want to break in here just to change those cards around?
Mon cher Bert, écoutez. Listen. I have made a discovery.
Listen, if you're going to talk, speak English. Or better yet, just keep still.
But I have made a discovery. This card game.
What about it?
It is crooked. Here is a man which has 2 deuces of hearts in the same hand.
Listen, Susie, I don't give a... Wait a minute. Let's have a look at those cards.
I give you ideas, yes?
Susie, for once you're right. And look here. 2 of these players have all the clubs and hearts. The other 2 have all the diamonds and spades. Susie, how many letters in the alphabet?
26, no?
And twice 26 is...
52.
The number of cards in a pack. Give me a pencil, Susie, quick.
The War Office, Whitehall. MI5, headquarters of military intelligence. There next morning in the map room used as an office by Colonel Warrender.
Mr. Rogers, I am a busy man.
I appreciate that, Colonel Warrender.
Anyhow, sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Now, what's all this? These cards you claim form a code, is that it?
Yes, sir. Now, look, sir. Let each letter of the alphabet represent a card in clubs and hearts. That's 26.
And then?
And then when you get to the middle of the message, switch the alphabet over to diamonds and spades. Then you won't keep on repeating. Now, will you read what I've got written on this piece of paper?
Jack of diamonds, Q. 3 of clubs, F. Well, that doesn't seem to mean much.
Oh, never mind the cards, Colonel. Just read the letters.
Q, F, A, C, T, O, R, Y.
Yes, sir. Q Factory. Go on.
Just a moment. What is that infernal noise? Johnson Burroughs!
Don't bother with that, sir. Just read the message, please.
Q Factory. 10 p.m., 15th.
Today's the 15th of March, Colonel.
All preparations made. Use dive bombers. See. This message was left openly.
So openly that nobody ever noticed it.
Yes, the trick's been tried before.
No contacts, no gatherings, no letters that might be intercepted. A whole spy ring could walk through that wax museum and read the message without being seen.
You newspaper men trying to teach me my job?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I only...
No, go on.
Well, don't you see? 3 or 4 little boats with portable wireless sets go down the Thames estuary. When they're beyond pursuit, they send that message by radio. Somebody listens. And it's no secret in Fleet Street, sir, that Q Factory is out in the wilds of Gloucestershire.
There's no secret anywhere.
And that we're making the Shaftesbury bomber out there. So tonight, unless we do something about it, they're coming over and bomb Q Factory to blazes.
That's impossible.
Why? Or can't you tell me?
I can tell you this much.
Yes, sir?
Q Factory is so well hidden that even our own pilots can't find it from the air. That's one objection to this message.
Any other objection?
Yes, this talk about dive bombers. Dive bombers in a night attack? What's the good of a dive bomber if he can't see its objective?
Well, suppose somebody showed a light.
He'd be shot dead as soon as he showed it. Every inch of country for a quarter of a mile round the factory. A quarter of a mile, Mr. Rogers, is patrolled day and night.
Well, just the same, they're going to have a try at it, sir.
How?
I don't know how.
Then, if you'll excuse me, Mr. Rogers...
Well, listen, Colonel Warner, will you give me a pass to go down there to the factory?
Certainly not. No one's permitted to go there except the workers.
How is the place defended?
There's a night fighter station nearby, and several batteries of 4 3.7 guns.
Then give me a pass to the fighter station or to the gun post. That's a legitimate newspaper request.
Well, I might manage a pass to one of the gun posts here.
Then you'll do it?
Well, what on earth is that infernal row? It sounds like somebody locked up in a coat cupboard.
Yes, as a matter of fact, Colonel, it is somebody locked up in a coat cupboard. A young lady, so-called.
A young lady? Who locked her up?
I did.
And just what the devil do you mean, sir, locking up people in coat cupboards in the War Office?
Well, she's a bit excitable, Colonel. I thought that she'd better not see you.
Oh, thanks for the consideration.
There's just one other favor I'd like to ask.
As well?
If she asks you for a pass, don't give it to her. Don't give it to her under any circumstances.
What's her name?
Susie Dubois.
You're rather too late for that, young man. The Public Relations Office granted her a pass 2 hours ago.
What? Oh. A woman to an anti-aircraft battery?
This is what we call a mixed battery. Women on the guns as well as men. She said it would make a good human interest story for the press. I must say, I agree with her. One moment, Mr. Rogers, before you go.
Yes, sir.
That gun post is fully 2 miles from the factory. You can go there, but if you take one step further, you'll be shot on sight by our guards. I warn you.
I'll be careful, Colonel. I'll be careful.
Somewhere in the West Country, a yellow moon shines over bare trees. A white mist, moving, clings to the ground.
Susie, are you sure we're on the right road?
Mon cher, they have taken away all the signposts in case there is an invasion.
I know that.
But I follow the map. The map cannot be wrong.
We've been driving for hours. Must be... Yes, it is. Nearly 9:30. Half an hour to go. Trees, and still more trees.
Look. There's a break in the trees ahead. It will be open country in a minute.
Yeah. That's funny. Look how deep the leaves are here on the road.
But one thing I tell you, just between you and me and the bedpost...
Gatepost, Susie. The term is between you and me and the gatepost. And speak English.
I am speaking English very well, thank you. I do not need your help to be pure.
All right.
Now, this map,
Well, what about it?
it say we should go through a lot of villages. Mitford, Archerdine, and Saffron-Weville. I have not seen any villages.
Did you say Mitford?
Oui, monsieur.
Susie, let me have a look at that map. Come on, hand it over.
But what is wrong? It is a perfectly good map.
Yes, Susie. It's a fine map. It's an excellent map. Only it's a map of the wrong county.
I have made a mistake? No?
I don't even believe you can read. This is a map of Barsetshire. We should be somewhere in Glebeshire. Now, where in the devil are we?
With the entrance to some kind of clearing with leaves on it.
Oh.
What was that?
Somebody calling us. And if we're in forbidden area...
I see him now.
Where?
Behind us. He came out of a white cottage back there. He's a big, heavy man. With a mustache.
Never mind the mustache. He's wearing some kind of a uniform and he's got a rifle.
You think he plug us? No?
I think it is not unlikely. Get out those War Office passes of ours. Wait.
Good evening, my friends.
Good evening.
Can you tell me...
No, we don't mean any harm.
Can you tell me what time it is?
Oh, what time it is?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's, 28 and a half minutes past 9.
Thank you. I will keep you covered while I set my watch. There. My next question is, would you like me to shoot you both?
No.
Listen, Mr.
McAllister.
Captain McAllister.
That's right.
Captain, this girl, she's been reading the wrong map. You see, we don't even know where we are.
You're in Hollywood Forest, my friend.
Hollywood Forest?
Is that good or bad?
And you don't know what's just beyond the edge of this clearing?
No.
There's a big open space of 1/4 of a mile. In the middle of that open space...
Q Factory. We're right on top of it.
Then you have heard of Q Factory, my friend.
Captain McAllister, we're from the War Office, and we've got passes to prove it.
Let's see the passes.
We were trying to find gun site number... I've forgotten the number. But it's here on that card.
You've passed the gun site. 2 miles back up the road. All right. Here are your passes.
What are you going to do to us?
I'm not in the regular army. You can thank your stars I'm not. I'm forestry preservation.
Oh. You are not going to chuck us in the cooler even?
No. Now turn that car around, get back along this road as fast as you can. If they fire at you, as they probably will...
Oh, I wish I am home. Pray no, Mao, I wish I am home.
Well, then hope for the best. My watch had stopped, and you did me a good turn. Now, hurry along. Hurry.
Gun sight of heavy attack battery. 4 3.7 guns against a moon growing clear white. White as the concrete emplacements, sealed against light where the crews, men and women, sitting, waiting.
Well, sir, glad to have you both here. This idea of yours about dive bombers attacking a blacked-out factory in the middle of a forest is rather fantastic, don't you think?
Well, I admit it doesn't make much sense, Captain Bronson, but I have a hunch that I'm right.
Well, glad you and Miss Susie drove out. Don't see many strangers. Frightfully boring. Nice country, of course, good air and everything, but dull. Dull as ditch water.
What's that?
Only some of the lads and lasses inside. Like to walk along the emplacement here?
Oh, is that allowed?
Oh, certainly, old boy. Why not? Bright moon tonight, isn't it?
Yes, bomber's moon.
We nearly get shot on our way here.
Quiet, Susie. We're not supposed to have been there.
If I nearly get shot, I am going to say I nearly get shot. It was a man which is called, McAllister.
Oh, old Mac, huh? Very decent sort, Mac. He's a tree doctor.
A what?
Tree doctor. Got to have wood, you know. But trees start to die. Mac goes round the edge of the clearing and smears them with stuff to keep them well. How did you come to meet him?
Well, the fact is, we nearly got as far as the factory tonight.
Oh, then you were lucky to get back alive.
There weren't any barrage balloons over the factory, I noticed.
Hardly, old boy. They wouldn't advertise, would they? with balloons in open country.
And if the Germans did use dive bombers?
Oh, they're not coming, old boy. Just make up your mind to that.
I wonder if you'll say so at 10 o'clock.
But it is 10 o'clock. It's just 10 now.
Well, it can't be. We drove here like blazes. It was only 9:30 then.
Well, then your watch must be very slow, old boy. No, I'm afraid you're wrong. I've never seen it quieter. Cold tonight, very dry for March. Look all around you. Moonlight, open country, not a sign of life in it. Quiet, peaceful, and silent as the great...
What was that?
By George, I think we've got some visitors. I think we're going to see some fun.
Enemy planes approaching south-southwest. Action stations. Enemy planes approaching south-southwest.
Now do you believe me?
Better stand back, old boy. Operation Crew's coming on.
I said, now do you believe me?
I want you to watch these girls work. They do everything, except actually fire the guns. Now, keep your hair on, old boy.
Susie, he still can't see it.
Oh, they'll only be going over.
You think so?
Oh, yes. We sometimes get a crack at them when they're making for Bristol.
Standing by for action.
Standing by.
Listen. I have heard that noise 1,000 times, but every time I hear it, I get sick.
Well, they're flying ruddy low,
Just what I was thinking.
Spotter! Any identification?
Junker, 88.
Dive bombers.
Height, 5,200.
Now, look here, you two newspaper people.
Yes, sir?
There might be things popping, can't tell. I'd like to get below.
No, thanks.
I don't like this, Bert, but I'll stay too.
Rangefinder.
Rangefinder, on target.
Look here, you two. Those War Office passes you gave me, I'm not supposed to keep them. No, I'd better give them back, just in case.
Predictor, on target.
Here we go, ladies and gents.
Fire.
Stand by.
Predictor on target. Fire.
Stand by.
Predictor on target.
Headquarters message, sir.
Fire.
Yes, Corporal?
Hold the fire. Night fighters taking off.
Hold fire. Night fighters taking off.
Hold fire. Message understood.
What is the matter with them?
With who?
Those Boche planes. They're still a good way off, but they don't come any closer.
Must be going over after all.
They're circling. I think they're waiting for a signal.
Anyhow, here are your War Office passes. You seem to have got them all smeared with oil.
Oil?
That is all right, mon cher. When we get them back from Captain McAllister, they have oil on them. I think maybe he dropped them on the leaves, because there's oil on the tires of the car, too. Then I think how always in this we meet things that burn. At Madame Tussauds last night, they would not let me smoke a cigarette in case of fire.
Fire. That's it, fire.
What's the matter with you, old boy?
Why did that fella, way out at the end of nowhere, want to know what time it was?
Are you scatty?
McAllister, you told me so yourself. He goes around the edges of the clearing and smears the trees with stuff to keep them well.
Well, what about it?
Suppose it was crude oil. Suppose between each tree he laid an invisible fuse of dead leaves soaked in oil.
I don't understand.
In 30 seconds, a complete square of fire runs around the limits of the factory grounds. That draws the bombers in. Then as the flames blaze higher, they've got enough light to dive on their target.
There. Our night fighters are letting loose.
Brunson, I see it all now. Come on. We've got to get to that tree, Dr. McAllister. It's a matter of minutes. Susie, is Brunson following in the car behind us?
Yes, he's following, and men with rifles.
We've got to get to McAllister's cottage.
This McAllister...
I'll bet you 10 to 1 the real McAllister's either dead or tied up in that cottage. The fellow we saw was an imposter. Look out, Susie. Keep your head down.
Oh, those fighters. They will chew up every younker in the place. They have not got the chance of a snowshoe in heaven.
No, Susie, not a snowshoe in heaven. You mean...
I know you are English at a time like this. What I cannot understand...
Look out!
don't see why he hasn't set his signal off. What is delaying him? Why don't he strike a match when the bombers come over?
Because he's a good Nazi.
A good Nazi?
My watch was slow, don't you remember? And I gave him the wrong time. He had orders to strike his match at 10 o'clock, and he'll not do it until 10 o'clock if there are 500 planes instead of 20.
Bert, I see him.
Where?
Far up the road. He's running.
Yeah, that's him. Think we can reach him before he gets to the clearing?
Not the chance of a snowshoe in heaven.
Signal Brunson to pass us. A long shot with a rifle might...
Bert, one of the Junkers is hit.
Huh?
He's right over us.
That's not all. He's unloading his bombs. That whole stick's coming straight down in our direction. Keep your head down.
I want to see.
Put your arms over your face. Are you all right?
I don't feel her.
This is a dirt road. The bomb sank too deeply before it exploded. We didn't catch the blast. Come on, Susie. McAllister was just ahead of us. Come on, let's get out. We can't drive any farther. This road is full of bomb craters. Wait a minute, Susie. There's McAllister.
He is dead.
Yes, Susie. Killed by a Nazi bomb.
Look, on the ground. What are those two white cars?
Oh. They're all smeared with oil. They must have fallen out of McAllister's pocket just before he got hit. Let's see. What do you know?
What are the cards, Bert?
2 tickets for Madame Tussauds Waxworks. I'm afraid our friend's never going to get to use them.
Not the chance of a snowshoe in heaven.
And so ends Menace in Wax. Tonight's story of Suspense. Columbia presents these stories of mystery and intrigue and dangerous adventure for your relaxation and enjoyment. Next Tuesday, there'll be another in this series. Same hour, 9:30 Eastern Wartime. William Spear, the producer. John Dietz, the director. Bernard Herrmann, the composer-conductor. John Dixon Carr, the author. Our collaborators on Suspense.
Here is a message of vital importance to every person who drives an automobile in America. There is wide misunderstanding about gasoline and rubber, and the government wants the following facts brought to everyone's attention. Actually, there is no scarcity of gasoline except in some parts of the East. But nowhere in the country is there enough rubber for military and civilian use. Starting 2 weeks from today, December 1st, mileage rationing goes into effect. This means that no car owner anywhere in the United States will be able to buy gasoline without a mileage rationing book. The purpose is to conserve the rubber we have by eliminating all unnecessary driving. When we think of the tremendous distances our mechanized army is traveling in North Africa and the long road to victory that still lies ahead, this extra effort on our part is slight indeed. Remember, everybody is going to have mileage rationing, so why not be prepared? The best way each of us can save rubber is by sharing our car with others. Let one car do the work for 2 or 3. So why not arrange with the neighbors tonight and start sharing the car tomorrow? It's the one real, important contribution that every automobile driver can make. Don't be a lone rider. Share your car and do your share for victory. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Will you give a few seconds of your time to help win this war? Then listen. At Stalingrad the other day, a Nazi tank unit attacked a corps of Russian soldiers. The Russians tried to stop the tanks and fought until their guns were silenced. Then did they surrender? Did they retreat? No. 18 of them rushed forward with bombs in their hands, got under the tanks, and blew them up. They gave their lives for their country. You and I are not asked to give our lives for ours. All we're asked to do is buy war bonds and stamps. Our American soldiers are giving their lives for us each day. More and more of them every day. Can we do less than loan our money to them? It's such a simple, easy thing to do. Out of every dollar you earn, lend 1 dime to your country. Do it regularly by joining the 10% club where you work. And do it now. Our soldiers need your help.
The Columbia Network takes pleasure in bringing you Suspense. Suspense, Columbia's parade of outstanding thrillers, produced by William Spear and scored by Bernard Herrmann. The notable melodramas from stage and screen, fiction and radio, presented each week to bring you to the edge of your chair, to keep you in suspense. Tonight's story deals with a remote and dangerous house and a terrifying thing that happened there because the rain went on for days and days. It deals with a surgeon and a girl, a giant, and a young man who took a long chance. And over them all, the moan of the night wind and the ceaseless roar of the storm. For your suspenseful listening, we invite you to learn about Kettler Method. Four days of rain there'd been, ceaseless, teeming, pouring with a steady, relentless rhythm. 4 solid days. The fields around Culston had been turned into huge puddles that reflected the heavy, swollen sky. And Dr. Morrissey was stirred by a deep anxiety. He stood beside a window in his sanitarium, which rose high on a lonely hill, a few miles from the little town of Culston, and stared into the jagged, spraying screen of rain. It was just 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock of an afternoon he would long remember. He was on the point of sending for Caffrey, the ward attendant, when the door opened, and Caffrey came in, pale, disturbed.
Dr. Morrissey.
Is there anything wrong, Caffrey?
I don't know. There's a feeling down in the ward.
Feeling?
This rain's going on too long.
The patient's getting uneasy?
They're bound to, ain't they? If a guy with good nerves gets jumpy, you can imagine what it does to theirs.
Seem to be affecting anyone in particular?
Number 5's been carrying on.
Kettler?
Yeah. I brought him up. Nurse Carter's waiting with him out in the hall.
Bad as that?
He's upsetting the others. Keeps asking for some guy named Benham.
Oh, that's the man he killed.
I didn't know he was homicidal.
Oh, it was an accident. He was performing a brain surgery on Benham and...
Him?
Oh, Kettler was a very important surgeon, Caffrey. Didn't you know that?
He keeps saying so, but...
It's perfectly true. Very successful Dr. Kettler was. Until he perfected an operative procedure that he called the Kettler Method. A new process of brain operation. Spent most of his life on it and... Well, when he tried it for the first time on this young lad Benham, and Benham died on the table, it unbalanced his mind.
I got to go back down there now.
I think you'd better wait while I talk with Kettler.
Okay, I'll bring him in. But don't make it long. I don't like the feel of things around here. Nurse, Miss Carter.
Yes, we're coming.
You can bring him in now.
Come along. Dr. Morrissey wants to see you.
Does he now? Does he?
Come in, Kettler.
I'd like to ask Dr. Morrissey a question. I'd like to ask him a question.
Yes, Dr. Kettler.
I should like to ask him where Laird Benham is. I know he'll never tell me.
But I will, Kettler. Laird Benham is buried somewhere out there under the rain. He is at peace, Kettler. Can't you forget about him? Just forget.
You'd all like me to forget about him, wouldn't you? Then you could keep him hidden away forever, couldn't you?
Benham is dead, Kettler. You know that. Benham died.
He did not. He's alive. He was alive when you and the rest of the envious medical profession stole him from the operating table. Kidnapped him with my bandages still round his head. You were determined to make the Kettler Method seem a failure, weren't you? Weren't you?
Easy now.
Believe me, Kettler.
I think
Laird
I know
Benham
where
died.
he is now, Dr. Morrissey. He's in the cellar under the ward downstairs, isn't he? Isn't he?
Kettler.
Let me see it. Laird Benham.
Oh, you'd better take him down, Caffrey.
All right. Come along now, sir. I'll take him, nurse.
You won't show him to me. Even though it would make me well again.
My cellars are empty, Kettler. Believe me, Benham isn't there.
You sit there in power and order me away.
Come on, Kettler.
There's something I have to say. I've always been above violence, Dr. Morrissey. But the time comes when there's no other course. This is a warning, Doctor. A warning. And the joke is that you won't heed it.
Come on with you.
You won't heed it now. But you'll remember it. And soon you'll remember it. Tables turn, Dr. Morrissey. Tables turn.
Poor thing.
I'm afraid I'm failing with him. Failing completely.
But you're not. It takes time to put a man back together.
Oh, it's taken me too long with Kettler. I'm beginning to be afraid.
If you'll pardon me, Doctor,
Yes?
I do think you're making a mistake.
With him?
No, with yourself. You haven't had a real vacation in 3 years, Dr. Morrissey.
Oh, you think I'm wearing a bit thin just now, don't you? And you're right. But I really can't leave my patients in anyone else's hands. Not now, at any rate. No, I'll have to make the best of it.
But you need relaxation, Doctor.
I know. Well, I hope to soothe my ragged nerves somewhat over this weekend.
Oh?
I've some friends coming down from the city Friday night. Leslie and Claire Winton. Young married couple, newlyweds. And I'm just going to relax with them and forget everything until Monday morning.
You must, Doctor. You do need it so badly. Oh, by the way, Doctor.
Yes?
I slipped some those new sample bandages into your coat pocket.
Well, thanks. I'll have a look at them.
I think they're quite good. The salesman said that...
Yes, nurse. What is it?
Did you hear something?
Thunder, wasn't it?
Something else besides thunder. I thought it...
Well, I didn't hear it.
My nerves must be getting the best of me. Perhaps it's a case of nurse heal thyself, eh?
I'm not the only one who needs a rest. You know, it might be a very good idea if we both...
Dr. Morrissey.
I heard that.
What is it?
It's coming from the ward. Sounds like... That was a shot, nurse. You get on the phone. Call the police at Colston.
Hello?
Keep at it.
Hello?
Someone's trying to get in from the hall.
Dr. Morrissey! Dr. Morrissey!
It's Caffrey. Just a moment. Caffrey, what is it?
He's ganged up on me. All of them are coming up the stairs. Kettler, clear out of here. Oh.
Steady, nurse.
He's dead, isn't he? Isn't he?
Yes.
Dr. Morrissey.
Kettler.
Remember my warning. Remember it, Doctor. Tables turn, Dr. Morrissey. Tables turn.
Rained for 3 more days. Friday night came, black, wet, and glistening. And the 8:15 express groaned into Colston Station, bringing Leslie and Claire Winton out from the city with their weekend luggage.
Isn't Dr. Morrissey sending his car for us, Leslie?
Yes, Claire. The chauffeur was supposed to drive us over to the sanitarium to pick up the doc, and then we're all going over to his house together.
Well, I don't see any car, do you?
I don't see anything but water. Maybe we're rowing over in a skiff.
Oh, I hate that sound. Like somebody's in agony.
I think you're a little depressed, dear.
Well, I shouldn't be surprised. My head's still aching dreadfully.
Poor lover. How long's that been going on now?
Almost a week. It frightens me.
I don't think it's anything serious.
Waiting in the rain like this doesn't do it any good, I'm sure.
I don't understand. Doc's usually so punctual. Right on the dot. You don't suppose we ought to call the sanitarium?
You people for Dr. Morrissey, yes?
Well, yes, we're the Wintons. Doc sent you to pick us up?
I, Cato, Dr. Morrissey's chauffeur. You got luggage?
Yes. Here it is.
I take. You follow me to car. Come.
We're coming.
Leslie?
Yes?
He's tremendous, isn't he? He must be 6.5 feet tall.
I'm over 6 myself, darling. He's nearer 8. That's a giant. Get those shoulders. He could snap me in two like a matchstick.
Well, I hope he likes us.
So do I, light of my life.
Waiting. You come, please.
But I really don't think he does. Coming.
The heavy car lurched and hurtled over the rain-soaked roads, tearing wildly through the dark and careening up the hillside toward the stark walls of the sanitarium. It skidded to a standstill in front of the main entrance, and cold black Cato led them inside. The brightly lit corridors were deserted, silent, like hallways in a nightmare. Claire was aware of her headache growing steadily worse as Cato opened the double doors and ushered them into the waiting room.
You'll tell Dr. Morrissey we're here, huh?
Doctor, be with you soon. You do not go away.
Yes, thanks.
I hope we're not staying in here very long.
It isn't very cheery, is it?
Oh, I don't like places like this. I suppose it's very foolish of me, but I always feel as if I'm in some sort of danger.
That's the headache again. Everything seems worse than it really is when you're not feeling well. Don't you always find...
Leslie.
Yeah?
Listen. What is it?
Somebody's knocking. Just a moment.
Gracias a Dios.
Who is it, Leslie?
I don't know.
What, you do not know me? I am Arturo Alvarez, the South American pianist. You have heard of me?
Well, sure, I've heard of Arturo Alvarez, but I'd hardly expect to find him
Leslie, humor him.
Oh, of course, for a moment I forgot where I was. I've heard of you, Mr. Alvarez. Is there anything I can do for you?
Will you help me? I must get out of this place.
Oh, sure.
I came here several days ago to be treated for a mild nervous trouble. And now they won't let me go. I am being held a prisoner. And tonight I am scheduled to give a concert at Carnegie Hall, and I must get out of here. Please, will you help me?
Number 10 out of the ward again, I see. How many times must I tell you that is strictly against the rules?
I was doing nothing wrong. I was only telling this gentleman that I must be at Carnegie Hall for my concert.
Yes. I'm sure the gentleman was very interested. Cato.
Yes, Doctor.
Cato, you will escort number 10 back to the ward and see to it that he doesn't wander back into the waiting room.
No, I will not be taken back to the ward. Help me.
Come now.
Help me, no. I will no.
How strongly he believes in his delusion. Strange fantasy of a diseased mind. Seriously believes that he's Arturo Alvarez.
He was telling me.
Oh, I'm very sorry. I'm afraid I haven't been very cordial. Won't you sit down? Is there anything I can do for you?
Well, you see, Dr. Morrissey invited us up for the weekend.
Oh, yes, of course. He told me he was expecting you.
Does he know we're here?
I'm afraid not. Dr. Morrissey was unexpectedly called away on an emergency case, and I'm in charge of the sanitarium until he returns.
Well, do you have any idea about when that'll be?
Well, it's very hard to say. However, he asked me to ask you to wait and see to it that you're made comfortable. Let me see now. Your name is...
Winton, Leslie Winton. And this is my wife, Claire.
Yes. Permit me to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Kettler, Dr. Morrissey's assistant. What can I do for you? A bite of food or a drink, perhaps?
I don't think so.
There's nothing in the world I want so much as an aspirin.
Aspirin?
Yes, Doctor. She's had a headache that's been troubling her for days. It's terribly annoying.
I can well imagine. Annoying and interesting. That is, to a man of my profession, of course. But if you will step into the inner office, I think I can offer you something a good deal more effective.
Oh, I'd hate to trouble you.
No trouble at all. I find these things most intriguing.
Should I, Leslie?
I think you might as well. Morrissey won't be back for a long time by the looks of things.
You're quite right, Mr. Winton. Dr. Morrissey won't be back for a long, long time.
Oh, well, then, which way do I go?
Right this way, the large door on your left.
You won't mind waiting alone, will you, darling?
Oh, Mr. Winton shall make himself comfortable. There are cigarettes in the box, whiskey in the liquor cabinet, and a radio behind the ferns there. I'm sure he will be quite happy. After you, Mrs. Winton.
If Dr. Morrissey comes in, let me know.
I hope you'll find everything you want, sir.
Thanks. By the way, Doctor.
Yes?
You said you had something better than aspirin. I didn't know there was anything better than aspirin for a headache.
I have something, Mr. Winton.
Really?
It is a process which I invented myself. One that never fails. A little treatment, very effective and highly complicated, called the Kettler Method. Please make yourself at home, Mr. Winton.
Leslie sat there, alone in the big waiting room for a while. Then creeps began setting in, and he thought to himself,
maybe I'll have that drink after all.
He rose and went over to the liquor cabinet that Kettler had pointed out to him and opened it.
Well, there's nothing in here but books.
Yes, books. Books that were so thick with dust that it was clear they'd been there for months. Well, no drink for Leslie. Maybe a cigarette. Kettler said the box was full. He picked it up and started to open it.
Why, it isn't even a cigarette box. The darn thing's a bookend.
Yes, that's just what it was. Leslie began to think it was a tough job making himself at home in that waiting room. And then the idea occurred to him.
Maybe the radio works.
He went over to the radio then, turned it on, and...
We are sorry to announce that the program scheduled for this time from Carnegie Hall has been cancelled due to the mysterious disappearance of Arturo Alvarez, the noted South American pianist. Mr. Alvarez was known to be suffering from a minor nervous disorder and was last seen departing on a short trip to Colston in upstate New York.
Alvarez. That guy is Alvarez. What's going on here? Claire! Claire! Locked. Dr. Kettler, open this door. Open it. Do you hear me?
Miss
Claire!
Winton.
Oh, you. Tell him to open up. Tell him. Tell him.
Doctor send me. Tell you, young lady headache bad. Very bad.
What do you mean?
He operate.
Operate?
He say take long time. He say you not wait. You come back tomorrow.
Operate? No, no. Kettler! Kettler! Claire, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Of course she can hear you, Mr. Winton. The operating table is just inside the door.
Bring her out here. Let her go, I tell you, Kettler.
But I find that an operation is indicated, Mr. Winton.
I forbid you to touch her.
You forbid? You? I'm in charge here. No one forbids me. Do you understand?
You're insane. If you lay your hands on her, I'll kill you. So help me, I'll kill you.
Very well, Mr. Winton. You do not wish me to operate. That's all there is to it. I would scarcely force my services upon you. However, the girl's condition is quite serious, and I... Good work. Good work, Cato, my boy. A master stroke. Do you still forbid me, Mr. Winton? Do you? Do you? Oh, you don't answer. Good, good. Take him to the cellar, Cato, and lodge him there with his friend, Dr. Morrissey. They should have a good deal to talk over in the still hours of the night while I cure the young lady's headache unmolested.
You've got to pull yourself together, Leslie. Now try. Try to think. Cato brought you down a few moments ago. You've been hit in the head. Can you remember?
Yes. I was talking to Kettler, trying to make him let Claire go. Claire? Oh, good Lord, Morrissey.
Where is she?
He's got her.
Kettler?
She's on that operating table up there. We've got to do something. We've got to do something.
Well, I'm afraid there's not much we can do. I've been here for 3 days and nights.
What happened?
It was a nightmare come to life. I'd had Kettler in my office for treatment.
Yeah?
He was off on a wild tangent, insisting that I had a man whom he had killed hidden down here in the cellar. That I and the rest of the medical profession had kidnapped him off the operating table with his head still swathed. He thinks I've been keeping this venom from him all along, even though I've known that just one side of him would cure his mental disorders. He hates me with every fiber of his twisted brain. He's a dangerous case, Leslie.
He'll kill Claire?
He may. There's a slim chance he won't.
What's that?
Well, all the surgical instruments are locked away. It's possible they may not be able to find them.
Isn't there any way we can get out of here?
Well, wouldn't I have used it?
Where does that corridor lead to?
To the staircase that goes to the first floor.
Well?
Not a chance. Comes out in the operating room, and they keep that door locked as tight as a drum. Besides, Kettler still has the pistol he took from my nurse.
I've got to think. I've got to. My head hurts so I can't make good sense.
Let's say that. I think they gave you a nasty cut.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Say, Doc.
Yes?
What was his name?
Who?
The guy Kettler thought you were keeping from him, the one he killed.
Benham. Laird Benham. Why?
Was he a young fellow?
Yes, rather tall, slender chap.
Say, Doc, do you have any bandages down here?
What?
Bandages.
Why, yes, I think so. They're stored down here.
Enough to bandage my whole head, face, and everything?
Why?
I might have a chance of getting through that door up there.
Please, let me go now. Oh, let me go. Leslie! Leslie!
You will be better soon, much better. I will take the pain away, Mrs. Winton. Cato, have you found the surgical case?
Not found yet. I look. Cato, look.
Find it. We must not keep Mrs. Winton in agony. Find it, I say. She'll have to create some order in this place. I want my instruments at hand on a moment's notice.
Please, let me go. Oh, let me go.
You shall be well again, my dear. I promise you shall be.
Doctor, here, tall, white cabinet behind curtain.
That's it. Open it, Cato.
Locked. Locked, Doctor.
Smash it open. Open it.
I do.
You'll find scalpels on the top tray. Bring them to me.
Yes, Doctor. It's here, Doctor. See, knives. Good, sharp knives. Cato find. He find them.
Excellent. How they glitter. It is good to feel the knife in my hand again. Put the others right beside my pistol here on the table.
Please. Oh, please.
There, my girl. I shall expend all my genius on you. You shall be well again.
No! No! No!
Now to work. What was that? Who's there?
Dr. Kettler,
Who is it?
I have found my way back to you. Open the door, Dr. Kettler. I've come back again.
Who are you?
You remember? You remember Laird Benham?
Cato!
Yes, Doctor.
The door! Let him in! He's come back! Let him in, I say!
Yes, Doctor.
Oh, let me out of here!
He's come back, Cato.
Dr. Kettler.
Benham, I knew it. I knew it all along. You're alive. You're living.
Yes.
Living.
Yes, Dr. Kettler.
You. Just as they took you from the table.
Yes. They took me away before the operation was complete. Finish it now. Hurry. I can't live much longer. I'm about to die.
No. Cato, get Benham out of the table.
Girl on table.
Take her off. Take her out of here. Put her in the cellar. Let Benham take her place. At once, you hear?
Yes, Doctor. Cato.
No, I won't be put in the cellar. I won't.
It might be well if you went down into the cellar, you know. It's nice down there. You'll see old friends, perhaps. Old friends who need help.
Leslie.
Hurry, I say.
Yes, Doctor. Come.
I'm coming.
Are you all right, Benham?
Weaker.
Cato!
Cato, closed off.
No, stop wasting time. Leave the door alone. Help me. Help me get Benham on the table.
Yes, Doctor. Cato, do.
Oh, that's right. Now lift him carefully.
Yes.
Good. Now, lie back. Lie back. Gently. Gently. All right. Careful now. There we are. Cato, give me the knife.
Yes, Doctor.
Take off the bandages. From the top, Cato. That's correct. That's proper procedure. There. Yeah, now that's... I thought his hair was blonde, not black. Well, perhaps I've forgotten. I've forgotten so many things that... There was a scar on his forehead. I clearly remember a scar on his forehead. Maybe I imagined that, too. Perhaps it was someone else with brown eyes. Benham, didn't you have blue eyes? I know they were blue. And your nose. Your nose was thinner and longer. Yes. Yes. And your lips. You had thick lips. That I know.
Bandages off, Doctor.
Dr. Kettler, there's a trick here. You're not Benham. You're not Benham. You're that young Mr. Winton.
Dr. Kettler, listen to me.
Cheat. So you wanted me to finish you, did you? Yes, Mr. Winton, I will. Hold him, Cato. Hold him. See the knife, Mr. Winton? Watch it glisten as it comes down, and into...
You don't doubt that he's Arturo Alvarez when you hear him play the piano, do you? That's a marvelous old instrument you have, Doc. It was my mother's. This old house has been in the family for generations.
Who'd ever thought we'd be alive to sit in your house and listen to somebody play a concerto?
We wouldn't have been. At least I wouldn't have been if you hadn't snatched that revolver off the table right out from under Kettler's nose before they threw you into the cellar. That was the lifesaver. Made the weekend perfect. I'm afraid it wasn't very restful. Hereafter, I'm spending all weekends in a cozy little corner under the L. It was worse for Claire than anybody. She had a dreadful time.
It was ghastly, all right. Horrible. But you know something?
What?
My headache. It's completely gone.
So ends the Kettler Method, the tale of a memorable weekend and a long-awaited dead man who didn't return after all. This was tonight's story of Suspense. Suspense is produced by William Spear. John Dietz was our director this evening. Tonight's radio drama was written by Peter Barry and scored by Bernard Herrmann. Roger De Koven was Dr. Kettler, John Gibson, Leslie Winton, and Gloria Stewart played Claire Winton. Others in the cast were Guy Repp, Martha Faulkner, Winfield Honey, and Ralph Smiley. Next week at this time, Columbia will bring you another selected story from the world's great literature of thrills. Another study in suspense. This is Barry Kroger, and this is the Columbia Broadcasting System.